90.3 WHPC now presents Law You Should Know. The law affects every aspect of our lives, our home, our jobs, and our recreational activities. Now, learn about the law and how to protect yourself against the loss of your liberty or property, and learn how to stand up for your rights and seek compensation when you have been wronged. Your host for Law You Should Know is attorney Kenneth J. Landau, a past dean of the Nassau Academy of Law, and frequently lectures to lawyers on ethics and avoiding problems with clients, and to the public on how to choose and use lawyers. This is Law You Should Know on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hi, this is Ken Landau, and welcome to Law You Should Know. Today we're going to talk about your GPS to employment success, and our guest is Beverly Williams. She is a lawyer and a partner in the law firm of Wong Fleming in Princeton, New Jersey, and she's in their labor and employment law department, and she's going to be talking to us about a related issue, but a practical issue about being successful as an employee, whether you're a lawyer or in some other job situation. Beverly, welcome to Law You Should Know.
Ken, thank you so much for the invitation. I appreciate it.
I know you're a wealth of information. There's so much information in your new book, Your GPS to Employment Success, and we want to give everyone out there ideas about to be a successful employee and employers how to have successful employees. Let's talk out initially, how does a lawyer or someone else know if they have the right job fit for a job?
You know, that's a tough question because the way you start out may not be the way it continues. You may start out thinking, oh, I like these people. I like this firm. What you need to do is you need to do your research. You need to do the legwork. You need to talk to people. You need to hear what people are saying and see whether it would be a good fit for you. Will you be happy?
And if things are not, you don't feel the right fit or you have second thoughts, should you discuss it and see if maybe there's some other role you can play in that employer?
I think it depends on the law firm or the company that you're working for. Every employment situation is not the same. Hopefully you have a mentor, whether it's a partner in a law firm or someone that works for a company in-house as a company, in-house counsel, or someone who you respect, who gives good advice and who has had some achievement of success.
I guess in one sense, it's like dating or other relationships. Sometimes you see it's not going to work out and you can have an amiable parting or separation, rather than it being, let's say, hostile.
Well, the hope is that if it's not working out, you make the decision to leave. And the employer is not the one that makes the decision to leave. That always feels better.
And if you are making the decision, should you just do it immediately? Should you talk to them about it and what the best timetable is?
It depends. Every situation is different. What you should do is if you decide to leave, you should leave on favorable terms. You should give them notice. They may say, if you say, I've got another job, I'm going to leave, I'm giving my 2 weeks notice, they may tell you to leave now. And then you should pick up your stuff and you should leave. And hopefully you don't leave before you have another job.
And you also, it's usually not a good idea to badmouth them and not a good idea for them to badmouth you.
Absolutely not. You hold your powder, you keep it dry, you move on. Because you don't know where life is going to take you and who you might run into again.
And what are some signs early on that a job is right for you versus wrong for you?
When I worked in one office, I remember hearing, you feel the love. You know when you're doing well. You hear praise. You get perks. And I mean, they may take you to dinner. They may invite you to play golf. You know when you're on like a partnership track or whether they highly regard you. And if you're not feeling the love, you may want to talk to someone and just ask very respectfully, how can I improve my contribution to the firm?
Right. Don't criticize them, but ask them how you can do better.
It's all focus on yourself. What can I do to improve my performance?
And some employers may not know how to generate the love or provide support.
Absolutely. And that's what it's difficult for employees to understand. Everyone is not a good leader.
And usually it doesn't work well staying and fighting it out. Usually, and what if you have conflicts, say, with some of your coworkers?
You want to try to get along with everyone, obviously. If you find that you're not hitting it off with someone, you may want to invite them to lunch or dinner and see whether they accept the invitation and have a conversation with them and just say, I think we got off on the wrong foot. You make a substantial contribution to this employer, this firm, this whatever. I respect you and I can learn a lot from you. Can we establish a relationship?
And how do you find companies that may have the right fit or a better fit? Do you ask people? Do you look on websites?
Absolutely. And one of the things, whether you're a lawyer, a young lawyer, a prospective lawyer, or just graduating from college or graduate school, network. I didn't do that as much as I should have when I graduated from law school. The more you do when you start out, the better it will serve you later on in your practice, in your career, on your employment journey. You want to get out, meet people, impress them with your work ethic, with the fact that you volunteer, the fact that you're a nice guy or gal, however they're referring to people these days. And you make yourself not invaluable, but you add value to anything, whether it's a charity, whether it's a project, whether it's a brief, whatever it is, add value.
And that's true to every interaction you have with a client in any business and whatever you're doing for that client.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the best things you can do is ingratiate yourself with a client. If a client likes you, if a client likes your work, if a client thinks that you have creative approaches to their problems and you get what they're going through and what they're trying to achieve, you'll be fine.
And as you're in the first part of what you said, as you're networking, as you enter the legal or other profession or the workforce, it's good to network, meet other people. Maybe they have similar challenges. Maybe they can warn you about bad employers or let you know who the good employers are. Or maybe they're a sounding board for you. They've encountered similar problems.
Absolutely. You want to have a robust network of resources, people you can go to, people who you respect and who respect you. And especially lawyers, I find, they're willing to help. They're willing to bring you along. They're willing to nurture you and help you develop. And if you belong to bar associations or any other kind of professional organizations, the objective is to distinguish yourself. It's not enough to be different. You have to distinguish yourself. If you take on a project, you make sure you deliver and you deliver at a high level.
And sometimes your fellow alumni in whatever field can be that part of that support network. Sometimes Absolutely. If you've joined some business organizations or community organizations, those people can be part of your support network. And it also may lead to business, so it can be a win-win situation.
And win-win. I'm glad you said that, Ken, because win-win. When we look for a job, usually people look for a job, they're only thinking about themselves. I need a job. And they're trying to find a job that's a good fit, that pays a nice salary. But if you think about it from a win-win perspective, you want to do as much as you can to make the person that's interviewing you understand that you're bringing something to the table that's going to make the hiring partners or hiring person's job easier. You're going to put in the time, put in the effort, produce a quality product so that they have to do less work. That's a win. And your win will be the job that makes you happy, the job that pays you well.
So you want to provide value to your employer, but you also want your employer to not just exploit you. I mean, on the other side of it, the employer, you don't want the employer to be an exploiter. They have to help create value, their value to you. And then both people are going to win-win. That's
the win-win. And that's not usually what we think about. And if you're being abused or taken advantage of at work, that's a sign that you need to find work elsewhere.
Or the flip side, if you're somehow taking advantage of the employer or their clients or cheating them, that can destroy the relationship.
Well, if you're cheating them and you're an attorney, you won't be one for long.
Okay.
That's what you're doing.
Well, I'm saying taking some shortcuts. So I just want to remind our listeners, we're talking with Beverly Williams, and she is the author of Your GPS to Employment Success. We're talking about for lawyers and business people and really people in any position, and also the people that employ them, how to make it a win-win situation for both sides. What if there's some point you feel stuck in a job? Maybe the pay and benefits are good, but you're not happy, or maybe you're happy, but the pay and benefits are not good. What should you do?
You know, each person's situation is uniquely different. If you can afford it, and you can take a job that may pay less, that you'll be happier with, then do that. If you can't afford it, step back and determine whether or not it's you. It may be you are the problem, and it's not the environment that you're working in. If you do that and you objectively determine that you aren't the problem, then you need to start looking for other employment, and you need to do it discreetly, which is why it's important to have a robust network.
And not everything may be the right fit. You know, maybe the culture is different. Maybe the priorities are different. Maybe your life is changing and you have other interests, or you want to work less and whatever else. So it's good to have your network to discuss these things. Can you also discuss them with human, resources, or a trusted partner, or your, a colleague in the law firm or human resources?
The operative word, Ken, is trusted. You don't know who you can trust and who you can't trust. I find that it's better to talk to people outside the firm that you in your network, as opposed to someone who may be a competitor. If you both are up for partner, or it may be a partner that doesn't particularly care for you. You don't want it to get back to the wrong person, and you want to maintain a certain level of integrity. You want to maintain your integrity and your dignity, and you don't want it to appear that you're undermining what's going on at the firm.
If you feel there can be some kind of mid-course correction, can you talk to your boss or partner or mentor at the firm about changing some things in your work environment to make it a little better for everyone concerned?
Sure, absolutely. It's not unusual in this day and age for that to happen. When I was coming through law firms, that wasn't as common. But now people are working remotely. COVID showed that was a doable option. People are working fewer days. If you are a valued employee, they'll make accommodation usually. But if you're not, if you haven't been performing at a high level, there's no incentive to accommodate your request.
And right now, as we've emerging from COVID, although it may resurface its ugly head, law firms, employees, and many other firms are having a conversation about returning to the office. And there's some people like the status quo. Some people want to have some days where they don't have to return to the office. What are some things for an employee or an employer to look at in advocating for that, or having a conversation about that?
A friend called me and said that she had a friend whose husband worked remotely. And his HR person called and said, we're going back into the office, say in another 3 or 4 months. And he asked if he could continue to work from home. He said he really preferred to work from home. And the HR person said, let me get back to you. When she got back to him, she said, we accept your resignation.
Wow.
I've heard that story more than once.
So if a company wants a good reason to get rid of employees, they can use that. And the flip side is if an employee wants to get rid of the employer, that might be the parting blow.
Right. If you are not curing cancer, if you're not doing something if you can't be replaced, you should be very careful about how you approach that topic. Think of it this way. Follow the money. Employers have spent money on leases. They need to fill that office space. If you're not there, it's a waste.
Is there some kind of compromise? And in the future, I think law firms and many other companies will be downsizing that space because you're right. They are stuck with expensive leases and landlords may be reluctant to renegotiate those leases. But in the future, lawyers are going to downsize their physical space because it might be good with 2 people sharing an office and occupying at different times of the week. There's potential savings for the law firm.
You're right. But that doesn't help the person that says, I want to work from home now.
But is there some compromise? Can someone say, if they're valued, I'll come in 3 days a week and, or if there's a special project?
If they like you, they like your work, you're performing at a high level. Yeah. As long as they don't discriminatorily agree to let people work from home for a certain number of days, it's a problem.
In terms of employers, they have to treat everyone equally, more or less. So if they let one person work half-time at home, do they have to look at everyone?
No. It depends on why they're letting that one person work from home. And let me just say this. In my experience, employers have become more sophisticated and strategic about the reasons they provide for their decision making.
And I know you also handle arbitration, mediation, and employment law matters. Is this something that you can help law firms negotiate or other companies negotiate with their employees to look for a win-win situation?
As I said, the employer has to have the incentive. What's the incentive for doing that? It's not, when they talked about the Great Resignation and media were telling people, listeners, viewers, employees are in charge now. They were never in charge. The Great Resignation, people were leaving their jobs because they wanted better jobs or they wanted more money. They were leaving their jobs. It's a no-win. It really is a no-win.
So the Great Resignation allowed some employees to start their own businesses or independent practices and whatever from home.
Yes.
Because they thought they could do that or they wanted to try something else or just take a break.
And that's fine if you can afford it. But think about how much money it costs to support a family or even one person, depending on where you live. If you're living with your parents, it makes it a little bit easier. But if you're thinking about starting your own business, you need to go to experts who've done it to find out what to do, because you may not know enough to do it successfully. And
if you're a lawyer or some other professional, you need to find out if there are some clients who'd retain you directly and you could work for them from your home office.
Goes back to impressing the clients.
And relationships.
And networking. There's synergies. It's like a confluence of resources that you tap into as you move along on your employment journey.
I'd just like to remind our listeners that we're interviewing Beverly Williams. She's an attorney and a partner in the Employment and the Labor and Employment Law Department of Wong Fleming in Princeton, New Jersey. And she's been talking to us many topics that are covered in her recent book, Your GPS to Employment Success. And there are, as you've heard, there are many topics that apply to lawyers and others, and they apply both to employees and employers as we navigate different issues in the workplace. What do you think are some other emerging issues either that are causing a fusion or friction between employees and employers at this particular time with this post-COVID return to the workplace?
In the readings I've done, it seems that especially younger people are more focused on employers who support the causes that they feel are important. Climate change, sustainable products, whether it's vegan products as opposed to animal products. And if an employer is not genuinely interested in those things, don't try to fake it because they see right through it. But that's one of the things in a prospective employer, whether you are looking for a job with a law firm or a corporation or a nonprofit, you want to find an employer, you want to land where you'll be happy, where there are people who believe and feel the same way about the things that are important to you, whether it's family, whether it's climate change. And if you don't find that good fit, you won't be happy.
So that's about finding the culture of the law firm and seeing if they will endorse or at least give you time to work on your causes. And I guess also about the family leave, you want to find out, if you need to take a leave for yourself to help someone in your family or a parent, are those opportunities there as that's becoming more important to many people?
Fortunately, there are laws on the book, federal and state laws about family and medical leave provisions that have been helpful to people. And states have been proactive about expanding some of those rights. So we're in a better place than we were even 15, 20, 30 years ago. But they still want you to come to work, and they want you to work a full-time job.
And they want you to work hard, and they want you to provide value to the employer, as you mentioned earlier. And what are some tips you have for people looking for a job or a promotion, whether it's a law firm or some other firm or a big corporation, or even in a smaller setting?
I think of it, I try to come up with acronyms, and one of them is SOAR, SOAR. Seek information and share information. You have a lot to offer, but there's a lot you don't know. Doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are. Share information and seek information. This is something I mentioned before. Operate throughout your career with dignity and honor. Dignity, honor, and integrity. You want people to respect you because of how you conduct your business, how you carry yourself, as they say, and the kind of person you are. You want to be accountable for your actions and your conduct. You want to stand up and stand by whatever it is that you do and take ownership. And you want to respect the rights of others.
And at the same time, if you have a talent or skill, an interest or background, you should, use that to help your employer or the people, your colleagues at that employer.
That's it.
And it's going to it's going to help strengthen the connection.
We circle back to what you said before, win-win.
Can you give us the website where people can find out more about your book or your firm?
It's www.youremploymentmatters.com.
And there are more information about this topic and excerpts from your book.
They're not excerpts, but there's a podcast. The podcast is Your Employment Matters with Beverly Williams. And wherever podcasts are found, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher is out now. But wherever podcasts are available, Your Employment Matters with Beverly Williams. I have been fortunate enough to have interviewed a rock star, a Pulitzer Prize winner, someone who's transitioning to another gender, A friend of mine asked if everybody that I interviewed had to have gone to college, and I said no. So I made sure that to interview people who hadn't gone, but who had interest. Everyone has an interesting story.
And is education less important, and it's more about value and other skill sets than it once was? Just very briefly.
I don't think so. I think that's the knee-jerk reaction. It's better to have and not need than to need and not have.
And what final thoughts do you have, Beverly?
Your employment journey, whether you're a lawyer, a judge, or a plumber, it's your responsibility. You should manage it, you should own it, and you should enjoy whatever you do. And I wish you the best.
Okay, and I'd like to thank our guest, attorney and author Beverly Williams with One Fleming in Princeton, New Jersey, and the author of Your GPS to Employment Success. If you missed any portion of the program, please go to the podcast at nccradio.org, and please join us next week at the same time for another program on Law You Should Know on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College in Garden City, New York.